Good evening. The old man here, 11/25/2024. This is my first of two videos tonight. I missed one last night due to technical difficulties with my phone. I didn't want to put up a two-part video again. I don't think that went over very well. But at any rate, halfway through my video last night, the phone was saying it was memory was full, and I thought it had it cleaned out. Well, come to find out, there's several layers to an iPhone of when you delete things, you got to delete things on 3 different layers, or at least that's the way I see it. And now I believe I got them all cleaned out. The topic tonight was inspired by GMC 9451. He had a question about fractional gold and fractional silver, and I told him I'd do a video on that. And again, I was supposed to do it last night, but I'm doing it tonight. And then I've got another one I'll post later tonight to cover another subject that I had planned for doing tonight. So tonight we're going to talk about fractional gold and fractional silver and what my thoughts are on it. As far as fractional silver is concerned, the premiums are just insane. You know, if you buy a 1/10 ounce or a 1/4 ounce or a 1/2 ounce silver, oh my God, you're paying upwards of, let's say 20%, 15, 20% premiums on a fractional silver, and I really don't see any sense in that. But besides, if you think of it this way, out of what I would consider a bull run, of which we are on a bull run on gold and silver, it's been, for the last good number of years, been tracking at 10% a year. The dollar, it goes up in value. Again, just really the dollar going down, but whatever. And so if you're paying 20% premiums, and the value of silver, so to speak, is going up by 10% a year, that means you won't even break even for 2 years. And to me, that just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Typically, you ought to be able to buy silver or trade for silver at a premium of, well, I would say no more than 10%. If you like the new coins and that, you're going to pay that or maybe even a little bit more. Myself personally, like I said, this is a sumo match, and all I'm concerned about is putting on weight. And so I'll buy secondary metals. Maybe they're, they've got milk spots. Maybe they've scratched, they're dented, they're pocket pieces, whatever. I really don't care. It's all about the weight and getting it at the lowest premium as possible. So on silver, I wouldn't recommend fractional silver at all. But with that being said, I would recommend constitutional, of which is 90% silver. And when I say 90 constitutional, it's also referred to as junk silver in the industry, or some will call it pre-65 silver. But whatever they call it, it's 90% silver. It's U.S. American coins that were made prior to 1965. And in that, you could buy dimes, quarters, $half and silver dollars, although the silver dollars tend to also bring a pretty decent premium. So I bought some in my earlier stacking, but I've kind of shied away from them. When I first started stacking, of which was in July of 22, I had bought a few Morgans, silver dollars, and again, like I said, I just got away from them. And at that time, also, for the most part, constitutional still had a pretty high premium on it. At that time, the only thing you could really buy that didn't have high premiums was 100-ounce bars, of which I really wasn't into at that time. In fact, I still haven't bought a 100-ounce bar. Also, I had bought some kilo bars, of which personally is the largest bar I really care to stack, but teach his own on that one. And I bought quite a few 10-ounce bars, 5-ounce bars, and that, and again a lot of secondary 1-ounce silver rounds. And what I mean by secondary, for those of you that haven't heard me talk about it before, that's something that somebody's purchased in the past and brought back to the dealer and exchanged it again back to fiat currency. So I like that. Anytime I can buy something at a fairly low premium, that's what I go with. Constitutional for the last 6, 8 months, maybe a year, has had pretty low premiums, and I've been stacking that pretty regular. My favorite is dimes, but I'll do quarters and halves, but I tend not to do the Morgans. And what I like about dimes so well is the math is easier. It takes 14 dimes to make an ounce. So what you can do to figure out spot on a dime, it's really easy. You take spot divided by 14, and that's that spot on that dime today. So it's super easy. If you know it's 14 dimes to an ounce, and you divide, the spot by 14, there you go. You got it. That's one of the reasons why I like it so well. And if we ever get to the bartering system, and God only knows if we're going to go there or not, maybe so, maybe not. That's why I don't like to pay high premiums on fractional, because you never know if you're ever really going to need it. But it's still silver, and it's still a good trade at the end of the day. But not if you got to pay high premiums on it. And the one thing to know is in the future, if we ever get back to, if the dollar crashes, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but if it does, we're going to have to go to some sort of a bartering system for a while anyways. And the dimes, the one thing you'll know for sure in any time, let's say a bake sale, what do they have the hardest time with at a bake sale? Change. No kidding. Everybody's got 10 or 20s, 50s, 100s. And nobody's got singles, nobody's got fives. Everybody's scrounging for change. That's why the dimes appeal to me so much. It's, in my opinion, is just what it started out being. It could be in that situation. It's change. If it takes 2 silver dimes to buy a gallon of gas in the future, then it's so be it. Maybe it takes 3, maybe it takes 4. But if all you've got is 1-ounce rounds, what are you going to do? But then again, I can't see paying the premiums on a fractional silver rounds. That doesn't make sense either. Again, if you're paying 20% premiums, it takes you 2 years just to break even. When I'm talking about putting on weight, well, you're not putting on weight that way when you're paying 20% premiums. So I tend to stay away from those. When it comes to fractional gold, typically I like the 1 ounce because normally on 1 ounce gold, unless you're stacking eagles, you're always going to pay premium on. You might pay a premium of $90 to $100 on a brand new 1 ounce American Eagle. So I tend to stay away from them. Again, the premiums are a bit high for me. But quite often on a Cougaran, maybe even a Maple Leaf, you can get them down around the 2%, and that's not bad. But again, I focus so much on premiums and putting on weight. I've actually talked to my local coin shop, and he buys 10 karat, 14 karat gold back, whether those are wedding bands, wedding rings, whatever. He buys a lot of, broken necklaces, broken bracelets, And sometimes, he buys them back at scrap and they're not even broken. It's just the people need the money, so they're selling them at a scrap price. So I've been stacking quite a bit of what I would call, and he calls, scrap gold. And in that case, I can buy that at spot all day long. In fact, I only buy the 14 karat. He gets quite a bit. I want to say a lot, but he gets a fair amount of 14 karat. So I kind of hold out for the 14 karat. At least at this time, I don't want to have two different stashes of 10 and 14 karat gold. He comes up with enough 14 karat gold for me. So I'm not, as so far, I haven't been going with the 10. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with the 10. If you wound up stacking 10 karat scrap gold, there's nothing wrong with that either. Whatever it takes to get gold at if you can buy gold without paying a premium, man, I'm telling you, you're putting on the weight. And that's what it's all about, is putting on the weight. Not only that, in the future, if you ever need to sell or trade, let's say, your gold, these guys are used to buying that stuff. They like buying that stuff back. Typically, they buy it 10% back a spot. But I'll tell you, if you bought all this, like I bought all of my scrap gold from one guy. I got a really good relationship with my local coin shop, and I'd have no problem selling it back to him and making a deal that I'm not paying, or I'm not getting paid 10% back a spot. I'm sure that him and I could work something out that we could get it down to, say, even 2 or 5% back a spot. In which case, I wouldn't expect the money or the cash on the spot. Maybe he sends it in, he gets paid, then I get paid. And I would be totally good with that. I totally trust him. He's a great guy. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. And again, I think it's all about, in that case, you can negotiate. You're in a place of negotiation. You got the metal. He wants the metal. And, if you got a fair amount that you want to sell, I'm sure as long as you don't need to sell, you're not in the possession of need. You're in a position of want to sell or want to trade. At that point, you can negotiate. You're in a position of negotiation. And I think, like I said, if you develop a relationship with a local coin shop, I think you can develop that relationship where you can negotiate a pretty reasonable back a spot. And, when you're collecting and putting on that weight and you're not paying any premiums over spot, you're really stacking compared to paying let's say an American Eagle, you're paying 90% or $90 over spot on a 1 ounce Eagle. That's a fair amount of premium, and you're never really going to make that up. Somebody will give you the argument that you'll get more back on an Eagle than you will anything else. You get a higher premium, or you'll get paid back a higher premium even over spot, more so on American Eagle than anything else. Okay, so I paid 90 over, which takes away from my ability to stack by $90. And when I get it back, when the difference, when I go to sell, let's say I can get 40 over spot, and I've still lost 50. So I paid 90 over and lost 50. I mean, at the end of the day, you can play with the math, and if it makes sense to you, fine. It doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, it's all about putting on weight. I don't care if it's 14 karat. It doesn't matter. I'm stacking gold. Everybody that deals with 14 karat knows how much gold is actually in a gram of 14 karat. And if I could remember it off the top of my head tonight, I would have. In fact, it just came to me. I've been trying to think of it as I was talking. Basically, you take your spot on gold for the day, you take that and multiply it by 0.5833. And whatever that figure is how much spot is on an ounce of 14 karat gold. 10 is basically got the same math, but the numbers work out a little different. And one night I'll talk about how you get there. I think I'm going to wait till I get a whiteboard set up and I can kind of write it out for you. At least that's how I learn. I can learn it by seeing more than I can hearing. Kind of goes in one ear and out the other. There's nothing there to block to stop the information in the middle. It just kind of goes right through. But if I can see it, I can see it. I can picture it, and it can sink in. And you can always go back to the video at another time to do it. And besides that, if you want to know what the math is today, one guy that's got a really good deal is Vermilion Enterprises on YouTube. He sells a lot of gold and silver, and pinned to every video, you can go down to the link below, and it'll link you back to a video that his guy did on fractional gold and silver. I mean, sterling as well. You know, they'll show you how to do the math, and that's a very good video. In fact, I think I'd rather recommend you go and watch his video rather than waiting for me to do one. I probably still will do one, but I'd recommend you go back there instead. And speaking of sterling, it's another point I wanted to make about, you know, I don't mind paying a small premium on the, as long as it stays fairly low. I'll pay the premium on Constitutional. Although things are starting to heat up a little bit, and Constitutional's getting a little bit harder to get. You can still get it, but it's still getting a little bit more expensive. And as far as premiums are concerned, over spot. And the harder it is to get, the higher the premiums are going to go. So it's almost at the point of I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to stack a Constitutional silver. I'm not going to pay those higher premiums. So I'm already starting to switch over to buying sterling silver, which is 925 silver. It's 0.925% silver in every ounce that you buy. And one of the things I've been doing is, well, he picks up a lot of sterling for me as well, my local coin shop, and he gives me that at spot as well. And I'm sure I know what he's doing. I mean, I know what the deal is. He's buying back a spot. He's probably buying 10% back a spot and selling it to me for spot. Awesome. Dude's got to make money, you know, or otherwise he ain't going to be there next time I need him. And that's cool. You know, I don't mind that at all. But I've also, at times, I watch eBay and I can pick up, sometimes, it's not that easy, but sometimes I can pick up sterling at spot. But keep in mind, when you do that, you got to take off the shipping. You got to figure out the math, first of all, which isn't that hard. You take spot for the day times 0.925. That gives you what spot is. And then you need to know what the grams are. So however many grams of silver he's got, or how many grams of sterling they have. The one way to find out how many grams, you need to know how many grams of sterling there are in an ounce, and that's 31.1 grams of silver in an ounce. So you got to take that spot price times 0.925. That'll give you how much each ounce of silver is worth, each ounce of sterling is worth. And then you take that and divide it by 31.1, and that'll tell you how much each gram of sterling is worth. And a lot of these guys selling sterling on eBay will give you a weight. In fact, a lot of times the weight's in the pictures. They show like the whole pile, whatever it is, on the in one of the pictures. You can see how many grams of sterling it is. Some will show it in ounces, though, and that kind of becomes confusing because not only are they sometimes doing it in troy ounces, but most of them, because they don't deal in precious metals, they'll give it to you in what they call, or we call, imperial ounces, of which is your standard ounces, more known as the imperial standard. So got to watch that part. But if you can pick up sterling silver, 0.925 silver at spot, again, you're putting on weight. That's the way to put on weight. Anytime you can find a way to buy silver at or near spot, you're doing pretty damn good. Even though the price of spot, like I said, it's been going up pretty steady over the last 10 years, especially the last year. This last year, I think we're up. Oh, I don't know. It's kind of floated around back and forth a little bit, so I'm not exactly sure where it is right now, but it is up over 30%, and gold's up over 30% this year. So, keep that in mind. But normal for the last 10 years would be more in the line of 10%. So keep that in mind. Again, this is my first video for tonight. Keep an eye out, and this was to replace last night's video. Keep an eye out for my next video. About done here tonight on this video. Please like and subscribe, and even share it if there's something there you like. Share it with a buddy, whatever. But I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you, and good night.